Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's put this more like here. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to do a little magic. And let's put it. This is the perfect way to put it up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this live show. And we are live from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And setup is slowly getting there. And hope that you enjoy the show tonight. So I'm going to put this closer. There we go. So welcome aboard, everyone. And just check if everything's all right. Everything's cool here. Everything's cool there. And here we go. And here we go. And let me just pour myself a drink, which is coming from a local sugar shack, which is called Au Pied de Cochon. And it's Bière d'Épinette, which is, I believe, spruce beer, which is soda normally. But this is with gin. So it's called Gin de mon oncle, which means the gin of the uncle. So it is 7%. And we're going to try this tonight. So I think it's going to be nice. So let's open this up. There we go. Let's pour this. It really sounds like a Coca-Cola head. Oh, man. So welcome aboard and hope you enjoy the show tonight. And so we are live and we're trying to place stuff in a certain way. The on the air needs to be, it's visible right now, but needs to be placed in a honorable place. Maybe at kind of at the top here of the flag would be a good place for it. Anyways, I've got my desk here and my desk here. So it's kind of a corner with the lamp there, just making a bluish light to it. So slowly getting things up. That place on that side is still a big mess. Where I actually see the chat room right now and where it's streaming from, actually from one of my mini PCs, and hope that you are going to enjoy the show tonight. So welcome aboard. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And we are located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, like I just said, northeast part of North America. And we talk about radio. And look at that. We've got set up here the ICOM SCR 8500, which is right now on Radio Romania English 7375.
And it's a 2020 prize in recognition of his merit in leading Romania on a pro-European trajectory based on the values of the rule of law.
7375 Radio Romania. There's the CB here's on channel 20 with nothing much happening. So I've got my 980 SSB on the discount. I've got my ICOM on the MLA 30, and it's pretty cool. Slowly, things are getting better. This is a show about radio, and we talk about radio twice a week on Wednesday evening, North America. That's 8 p.m. Eastern. It's technically Thursday UTC, 0 hours Universal Time, and for most people around the world anyways. And we have, what I need to do here is to remove the audio from this laptop or one laptop. Where does the audio come from for that? I think it's here. Here we go. And so we, of course, are here to talk about radio and shortwave radio. We're here also on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 20 hours Universal Time. and just have fun. Honestly, we just have fun. Let me take the tablet here to see who's online, and at the same time. So here we go. I'll check the email, which I always forget, just in case. Here goes like this. Okay, so apparently I'm live according to an email that I got. Richard Lemke, nice to have you here from St. Albert in Western Canada. Gilles Paul the Cat, flu shots are out tomorrow. Warm weather, 18 Celsius. And Blue Jays and Oilers, yeah, I know. And take care, my friend Richard. Hope you are well. And this is through email, saying hello here, Richard Lemke, that I hear everywhere on the shortwave bands, on almost every show that actually reads letters from listeners. So, we got to take example here and write also like he does to all the stations. So hope that everybody's all right. And so it's Wednesday here, Thursday for a lot of people. Been trying to figure out a lot of stuff. It's been a busy week and a complicated week a little bit. Started complicated. So we're going to try to have things get better and relax, and more relaxed if possible. So I'm going to take a sip because I didn't take a sip earlier. So cheers, everyone, whatever you're having, water, tea, coffee, soda of some sort, beer, whatever, wine, whatever you might want. So cheers, everyone. Not bad. Not bad. So, nice to be here as usual, and it was a pretty complicated day today. So the fact that I'm here is actually quite incredible. So nice to have all of you on board, my friends. We have a chat room where everybody is just amazing and cool and great, and I mean, this is the place where if you want to just be yourself, have fun with guys that love radio, don't feel like you're less than anybody else. Well, this is a place. This is a place where everybody is at the same level. Everybody is here to help. There are no dumb questions, as they say. It is really cool to have everybody here. If you have a Gmail account, you can join in, say hi. And if you don't, well, there's a Facebook group, which is also very nice. You can join in. The Facebook group is at more than 2,000 members. It's a great place to be, where people share what they're listening, ask questions, share their knowledge and personal opinions. I mean, radio, like everything else, is not fixed in stone. Some people might like some stuff. It's kind of cool and really nice to have everybody here. Nice to have you on board. And well, there's the email. You have nothing of that. You can say hi to everybody through official shortwaveradio@gmail.com and have fun. Okay, let's check out what we have in the chat. So Bobby Burgess, WA5107SWL in Louisiana. Nice to have you here. Matt, Denver, Colorado. Nice to have you on board. The Blind Picker. Nice to have you here. Rob, W0RAB in Connecticut. Mark Cope, Dallas, Texas, WA5153SWL. Brad, nice to have you here, WA5192SWL. Rob, nice to have you here from Phoenix, Arizona. Charlie, W8CFO from Columbus, Ohio. Dwight, nice to have you here from Virginia. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here from Central Georgia. And what else do we have? Gang of Four. Angel and Kat, shout out to from New Hampshire. Nice to have you here. Audrey's Hollycrafters Kitchen. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Medium Wave DX will be in the air soon. It so feels like broadcast band season. It's getting cool. It's 12 Celsius here, which is, I would guess, 50s, lower 50s maybe. So 12.3 Celsius outside, 20, almost 21, almost 70 here in the room. So not too bad. It's going to actually warm up with all the lights and the computers running. So it's nice to have you all on board. Mike Jam, nice to have you on board from New Hampshire. We have so Gang of Four, nice to have you here. We have Joe, nice to have you on board from Newmarket, Virginia. Gang of Four, can your cat make a live appearance tonight? Well, it will depend on the cat. He's free to do what he wants, so hopefully he might show up. Who knows? We'll try to see if we can do something about that. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here from Los Angeles, California. We have Dale, nice to have you on Porsche. What the hell is that? Nice to have you on the show. New person here. Can someone tell me what this is all about? It's about radio and shortwave radio, listening to radio signals from far away. Hal Maysam, nice to have you on board. Good evening. Browler, nice to have you here from Northeast Arkansas. Joe Rotman, nice to have you here from Chicago. We have Randall Klontz, nice to have you here from Northeast Illinois. Yes, the Jolly Roger is back. And actually, it was in there, and I started looking around because I didn't know which box it was in. And then I saw the box where it was in. I was like, okay, I'll take a couple of minutes to put it back up. So nice to have you on board, my friends. Kamagzi76, nice to have you here from West Michigan. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here from North Carolina, KM4WRQ. VT Radio, nice to have you here. Paul, AA1SU from Essex Junction, Vermont. Finally took a week off from work, worked some new counties during the weekdays already. Cool. Take it easy. Do radio. Ronald, nice to have you on board, says Ginger Beer is good. J Projects, nice to have you here. Relocated. David says, nice to see the pirate flag back up. Keegan, X1080Xer, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas, 80 Fahrenheit. Rufus Newt from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario, VE3055SWL. Barry, good evening. Nice to have you here. And we have Almay Sound 4840 WWCR booming into Columbus, Ohio, S9+30. RJD Dakota, nice to have you on board from Wentzville, Missouri. Paul, nice to have you on board from Southwest Michigan. And what else do we have? Let's go down. I'm going down a little faster tonight. Tommy Xer, WPE2QED, nice to have you here from the Hudson Valley, New York. Beautiful day, 65 degrees and sunny. Cool. Did anyone catch the pirate radio broadcast on WRMI? Are you talking about the one on last Saturday evening, David? Just out of curiosity, because that one I did. James, nice to have you on board from Connecticut. What else do we have? Undecided hobbies. Bought a 50-foot chunk of LMR 400 times micro. Not that fake junk. It's hooked to my disco and using it on my RSP Duo. It's what discount are you using, first of all? And second of all, remember that if you have some strong VHF, UHF signals or strong FM stations around you, lower that RF gain if you want to have some good reception. If you don't, your RSP Duo, if that discount is good, what's going to happen is that the RSP Duo is going to be overloaded with the signals, and you'll have to down the RF gain. I have to hear on my discount, I have to put the RF gain on the RSPDX at about 60% of the level. or else forget it. It overloads, and so no signals are coming through. It's very important to do so. And LMR 400 is really, really cool when you're at 800 megahertz. But honestly, it's a little bit of a waste of money when you're only in the 2-meter range or even in the bottom of UHF range, because there's a lot of other types of cables that don't have that much loss. But it is good. LMR 400 is definitely good if you're, like at 800 or gigahertz or really, really high on frequency, though. Jim Heff, nice to have you here from Rhode Island. We have Robert Fletcher, nice to have you here from New Hampshire. John Beckham, nice to have you here from Northeast Florida. We have Mickey Dalmage, nice to have you here, Mickey Dalmage from Brandon, Manitoba. Almost hit 30 today. Wow. That is warm. Gustavo Bernandez. ¿Cómo está mi amigo desde Venezuela? Nice to have you on board, my friend. Chris, 66 from Kentucky. Dale, I'm looking for someone I can talk to about getting into shortwave radio. Well, this is the place, and you just have to ask your questions. And that is the place for that, I can tell you. You will learn and you will have fun with us, I can tell you. Just ask your questions in the chat room and we'll answer the best we can. Who broadcasts on 17815? At what time? Just out of curiosity. Are you talking about now or because here there's nothing here. But what time did you listen to 17815, John? Out of curiosity. I'm going to bring up the EIBI schedules here. EIBI schedules. Here we go. Let's bring up the HF Underground for any pirates. So what time did you listen to 17815? Let me check what's already there at 617.15. Oh, there's only one broadcast. So were you listening between 12 and 12:30 UT? Because it's Radio France International. If that was the time you're listening. And it's the only station stated there on EIBI's space website. So I don't know. What time were you listening? Out of curiosity. What else do we have? Brett Wayne, nice to have you on board from Salamanca, New York. What else do we have? Dale, just send your questions to officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. Okay, the discount is the Radio Shack one. Yeah, it's not bad, actually. I used it a very long time ago, and it wasn't too bad. Lower the RF gain. Maybe your RF gain is too high, and it's overloading if you have a lot of strong VHF or FM signals around you. Because it shouldn't be too bad, honestly. It depends what you're trying to listen to. VA2XMX Petro, nice to have you on board from the Montreal area. Pretty cool to have you here. And hey, I'm already. It doesn't happen very often. That's so early in the show. I'm already down in the at the bottom of the chat room. So let's check it out. Somebody was talking today about solar activity, and was kind of talking about the fact that solar cycles and everything. And I often talk about how there's a little bit of a overhype on solar cycles, and I think as the hobby, there's less signals than there were in the past, and I think a lot of people are under the impression that low solar activity is why they're not getting that much, and miss the point, which is actually there are less signals out there, even though there's still quite a lot of them, and also miss the point of there's a lot of RFI, a lot of interference, which is blocking a lot of the signals you might want to hear. So, I'm afraid a lot of people that are waiting for the miracle solar cycle 25 aren't going to find that it's that big of a miracle. You got to be careful with that. And you got to understand that although it will improve higher frequencies, you're not necessarily going to have that much more to listen to if ham radio operators don't operate more, and so on. I say it all the time. The biggest problem is noise. Forget the solar cycle. Forget nothing on shortwave. There's tons of it on shortwave. If you look at my ATS or ETM scans on my radios, with just the telescopic, the amount of signals I get in one scan, there's stuff on shortwave. But it's hidden in what is our number one plague, our number one problem, the noise. So be very careful about what you think might be the cause of not hearing signals. It has a lot more to do with noise, a lot less to do with the solar cycle. I can tell you that. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. So Almay Sam's been listening to shortwave since the late 60s. So a lot of stuff has happened since then. VTA Radio just worked a Japanese station on 17 meters 58. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty much the time. At this time of the night here in the East Coast, anywhere from about local time 6 p.m., 6 p.m. It's the time for some Japanese hams on 20, 17, and 15 meters, for sure. And really, really nice. Gang of 4 got the Texan PL990X from Anonco. Ordered on Friday, came on Monday. Cool. Hope you're having fun. Dan Robinson, nice to have you here. And I think that was a great demonstration. The bandwidth demonstration I did with the 501X, kind of showing that, when you're trying to get a station squeezed between two powerful other stations, here's how it works. And actually, it's a nice demonstration also of the capabilities of the 501, which is really, really nice. And what's cool with that is that if you have a Texan PL330, which is like really, really, not very expensive compared to that big gun radio, you have the same bandwidths. It's part of, it's part of the that DSP chip. It might bring chuffing when you tune on a smaller radio like that one, but it darn is amazing on what it actually is capable of. And it's as simple as that. And it made me listen to my signals from Mali on 5995. Of course, if you have a SDR, you can play with the filters on the SDR and bring in the signal the same. But definitely it shows how higher end receivers are actually pretty good at doing amazing jobs. Think back in the 80s, we had, radios that were very expensive, and the only thing they had was a wide narrow switch. And often the narrow wasn't even narrow enough to do anything. So we've got the best chances to get at a decent price a really fine radio today. And this is amazingly cool for our hobby, because people are perplexed. Should I buy a radio? Is there that much to listen to on shortwave? Well, prices have gone down, so you can get into the hobby for real cheap now. And that is kind of cool when you think about it. So nice to have you here, Dan. And if you guys haven't seen it on his channel and on Shortwave Listening, he's got lots of tests of the new Malahide, Malashit, or whatever it's called. The version 2. and even the Chinese one. And it's extremely interesting to see his findings. So please do check out all of the videos and all the things that he talks about, including on Shortwave Listening Post website. Andy New too. Nice to have you here from Bristol. Nice to have you on board. Keegan has 5,000 WWV. John Beckham. Thanks, Jill, for identifying Radio France at those times indeed. Yeah, it's in a language. It's called MAN, which I don't know what that is. MAN. I don't know what language is that. I would have to take out the file, but from 12 to 12:30 is Radio France from the Issoudun transmitter site in France. So that's what you got. 12 to 12:30. It's a 30-minute broadcast. And that is an example of higher solar activity. You got that because the solar flux is higher, and 16-meter band has been actually much better lately. What else do we have? VA2XMX usually hams will sit it out and wait for the solar maximum, but this has the unfortunate consequence of bringing out, if look. There's always DX and there's always a lot of stuff out there. I mean, I'm not complaining of solar activity, honestly. I never really do. Have you guys seen me complain about solar activity? Where we are in the solar cycle? No, because it doesn't matter. There's way too much hype on it. And we got to stop that. We got to stop that. Barry, so do people still DX long wave? I am wondering if it could be worth my time to build a long wave beacon between 160 and 190. That is a different thing. Ham radio bands. So there's two amateur bands in the long wave region, one around 400 some kilohertz, sorry, and one really low at 160 to 190. This is a challenge band. It's I've never heard any of those stations, so those beacons or ham stations that are down there, because it's low power, it's kind of difficult, it's very noisy. But that, Barry, is more of a question of not should I be worth my time to do it. It's more a question of have fun, do it, and see what happens. Because definitely, there's publications like the one that I have from the Long Wave Club of America that have, they have reports of people listening to those signals. There are people out there that are dedicated and only do long wave. There are DXers for all bands, and we got to remember that. And as I have seen with a lot of people, there are people that are amateurs of what is, what's called Earth radio or whatever. It's like really the basement of radio, just a couple of kilohertz, and you get all these whistles and sounds that are made by storms and geomagnetic activity and the Earth itself. There's people dedicated to long wave. I have people that have never really tuned shortwave more than anything else. Long wave is where they stand, is where they want to do something. There are clubs dedicated to that. Same thing with medium wave. There are people that have the big gun radios, not to listen to shortwave or anything. They just want to listen and DX medium wave. That's where their love is. That's where their fun is. There are dedicated DXers for every band, basically. We have the shortwave guys. I'm more of a shortwave guy, but I just, I go from time to time in other bands. But there is for everybody. There's a lot of people that love long wave. So you know what? This is what is nice about it. And this is why you should do it, not wondering if it's worth your time. Think about the hobby more of, how could I put it when somebody says, is it worth my time to do something? I think it's more of a question of, do you like it? Do you love it? Is there a passion in you that is like, I want to do this? Well, just do it. Whether there are people or not. I got a CB here. Whether there's not a lot of people or not, I don't care. I got a CB. I'm happy. I just want to make sure that it works and that I can transmit and that it's there. It's really just do what you want to do. And I can bet you might be surprised at who might actually be contacting you in email or whatever and saying, hey, you know what? I heard your beacon the other day and here is where I am. And you're going to get a kick out of that. You're going to get a kick, even if it takes time, even if it takes months. That day that you will get a report saying, I heard your beacon, you know what? You're going to get a kick out of it. You're going to be like, wow, this is cool. I haven't done it in vain, and I haven't done it just, with no one listening. But more than that, why did you do it? You did it because you did it for yourself. Who cares if somebody hears it or not? It's on the air. I know I'm like that. I would put a beacon up. I would be the guy that's like, it's on the air. Nobody hears it. I don't care. I'm happy it's on the air. I know I'm there. I know I'm on the air. Have fun. That's really much more important than thinking, well, is somebody's going to get it or not? Or no, have fun and do it. That's all. Navid Farnham, can you please tell me what TV1, TV2 band and why there are FM radio stations there on TV1 band? So you're talking about radios in the good old days when TV was analog. So when TV was analog, they came up with the idea that maybe you want to listen to the audio of a TV station sometimes. And they came out with all sorts of radios that had the TV bands with TV1, TV2. And the difference between TV1 and TV2 was simply TV1 was the low VHF range, channel 2 to 6 pretty much. TV2 was the higher VHF range, channel 7 to 12, 13, whatever. And that was popular and became popular a lot because a lot of guys that went to see, for example, baseball games wanted to hear the baseball playback. And of course, the TV stations were playing baseball live. So by listening to the audio, you could follow the game. So that was one part of the reason why the TV band existed on receivers. A lot of the sports fans brought their radios with the TV band so they can listen to the game while they were, especially like, I know it happened so much during the Expos. I would buy that $7 ticket because it was cheap, but I was like so high up that they were like this big and far away. And it's like a bunch of ants going on the grass or something. But you know what? With one of those radios, you could still follow the action of what was happening. And let's face it, there's one thing about sports on TV is that the most of the announcers are kind of really good at like hyping up the game, which is something you're not getting when you are at the game. I remember first time ever I went to see a hockey game at the back then it was at the Montreal Forum before the Bell Center, and I'm with my friend and we see the Canadians. I've always, I'd watch TV, the Canadians on TV with my uncles and whatever, and the action. You get to the Bell Center or the Forum, and you're sitting down, and it's like, wow, this is so quiet. This is so boring. I mean, I'm watching the game, but it's like something's missing. I don't feel the action, and I'm not that big a fan of hockey. So for me, TV is like, well, if you want to hype me up with hockey, better have some entertaining hockey. TV has it, but being there was kind of boring. It was like, okay, oh, they just scored. Okay, huh? Oh well. Okay. Okay, he's got the puck. Yeah, it's going there. Yes, you know. And of course, baseball is the same. Baseball on radio or TV is like, they're trying to hype up the game, make it interesting. And you go to the game and you're like, oh, you just hit. Is it a home run? I don't know. Oh, that's where it's going. Yeah, he's getting the ball. Okay, throwing it back. But it's like, you're watching a game, but it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, something's missing. I'm that kind of guy. So by having these signals, you had, of course, you had fun with that, and that was the main reason for a lot of radios to have TV audio. Honestly, now the other thing about it, you say, where are FM radio stations on the TV1 band? Now, if you're in the United States, North America, in general, Canada, and so on, probably what you're hearing is mostly the FM radio stations breaking through the TV band. These radios, for the most part, weren't that great. And so they did, a decent job, but that's it. So FM station breakthrough is certainly something that can be happening. So you might be hearing local FM stations that are just very strong and breaking through on the TV band. But depending on where you are in the world, the TV1 frequency range, which is like around 54, 55 megahertz, all the way up to 88, 89. Some regions of the world have FM broadcasts in that lower range of frequencies. Also, if what you're hearing on TV1 is really at the top of the TV1 band, it's simply that you're getting the lower FM broadcasts. There's actually a couple of stations in the United States that were using kind of a loophole in broadcast. And what they would do, they would broadcast on 87 dot something, I don't remember what's the frequency, which is technically out of the FM band and into the TV channel band. And they would apply for a license like for a TV channel, low power TV channel, but they would not have images. They would just broadcast audio, but on 87.7, for example, knowing that most receivers will actually receive that at the bottom part of the radio. So hope it answers a question, but interesting question. These are things that sometimes we have and we see. I got quite a few radios here that I find it sad that the radios don't get any more TV audio, and that band is kind of empty now. Kind of sad, but it's the end of an era when we could do that. Richard, nice to have you here from a cool Albany, New York. Pretty cool Montreal here. It's 11.8 Celsius right now. Handy Coley, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? Alosio Penido, nice to have you here from Brazil. And do you think DSP SDR is the future for the radio? The DSP side of things is mostly because, let's put it in a simple way. So as we move forward, and this is every company and everybody, every manufacturer is like that. What happens when a manufacturer wants to cut costs? He tries to find a way of lowering the cost of the circuit board, and it's not always successful, and it's not always a good idea. And we do get crappy radios because of that. Quite a few years ago, something came up, which is the silicon integrated SI 4734 chip. That company, Silicon Integrated, decided that they could do a long wave, medium wave, shortwave, and FM chip. It's a radio on a chip. It does everything on a chip. And they decided this could be very useful for a low-cost receiver that still is decent. Now, the DSP chip alone isn't worth much, but the DSP chip with the proper circuit around it can be very surprising. And you'll be quite amazed at its performance once the radio is well designed. And we have a lot of examples today. XH Data D808, the Radio R108, Texan PL330. They all use that chip. That chip has now become a standard. And the reason why DSP is the future, it's not necessarily the good reason. The good reason would be if that would be an improvement over, analog receivers of the past. In some ways it is. It brings features that were unavailable for a cheap price before. Yet, the reason they do it doesn't cost much. Why does the Texan PL330 cost such a low price for all the features? It runs on that DSP chip, which costs almost nothing for Texan. They just have to put the circuit around it to do whatever it needs to do. And hey, it works. So there's a good side to it. It lowered the price of radios. It actually gave us very decent radios at prices that we would have seen before. Unfortunately, it has drawbacks also, and depending on the radio and how it's designed with it also. But radios like the Texan PL990X, Texan H501X are based partly on the DSP chip, the silicon integrated chip. But what happens is that they have, and they're more expensive, also added an analog world around it. So they're, triple conversion receivers. One of the conversions uses the DSP chip, but it's not what is the main driver of the radio. There's still an analog PLL side to it. So no chuffing in anything, but they use the chip because it helps in certain ways also. So DSP is the future because companies will not want to risk very expensive radios. I'd be curious to know PL990X, 880, and H501X. How many people will buy that? How many have they sold right now? How many will they sell? This is very, very curious. I'd like to know that. So that DSP chip lowers the price and brings in expensive radios, and that's what honestly we need that right now. The amount of people that come back to me and say, well, that expensive H501X isn't worth it, whatever. Well, it is worth it, and I'm sorry, it's worth its price. Before you say it's not worth it, you have to know what radio is all about, and you have to have used an expensive receiver to see the advantages, like on the ICOM here. What are the advantages of a more expensive radio? You then understand why the H501X or the PL990X are superior receivers, because you understand what expensive radios actually bring in the hobby that is not on the really cheap ones. And those two radios actually demonstrate and have those features that are much closer. When I say tuning the H501X or the 990X, it's like tuning a high-end tabletop. Only when you really know what you're doing, you understand that. If you've never done that, you don't understand what I'm saying, and you cannot understand it at the same time. Now, that said, doesn't mean you need that expensive radio. I here on the channel always kind of try to say, well, we don't need and I try not to push expensive receivers too much. We are in a hobby that needs to have good, decent radios that are decent priced, because it's kind of a hobby that's kind of, we're not in 1975. In 1975, you would have bought a radio for $400, even though it was extremely expensive, because you knew it was better. It would have give you more stations, and with all that was out there, you were able to get that little signal that you wanted and that you couldn't before. 2021, people turn on the radio and kind of wonder, well, what's around exactly? Because you have to work harder to get what you want to listen to. And it's not because there's nothing. There's quite a lot of things. Even today, I got another comment on the channel that I rectified or corrected. The guy said, well, BBC's gone, so what's out there? BBC isn't gone. It's still one of the biggest, if not the biggest, broadcaster on shortwave today. But what's gone, and that's the impression that people have, what's gone is, if you live in North America, not a lot of stations are actually targeting you. So it feels like the bands are quiet. But when you're in a very low noise environment, you actually see that bands are not that quiet. There's stuff out there, but the noise is washing it out. You got to remember, that's really, really it. But what that means also is that people are less, today they're not going to buy an expensive radio, and they're just going to go and say, well, you know what? They're just gonna want to get something cheap because they're not sure that there's really something out there. I can tell you that. Robert Prosper, I wonder if there's people who focus on noise, de-Xing noise. We're trying in general to get away from it more than de-X it. Jeff McLeod, can you explain for dummies like me why SDR receivers like the New Elect must upconvert in order to get shortwave frequencies? What does that even mean? So these are receivers that are based on, so here's the thing. Everything that is New Elect, RTL is the RV3, and so on, are based on an Asian chipset, an Asian chip that is actually a dongle made for a type of television that is only in the Asian regions. So that is technically useless anywhere else in the world. It's only in Asia that they have that type of broadcasting. So what happens is that dongle, which is very popular over there, and that's why it's extremely cheap. You can buy an RTL is the RV3 for $25. What happens is that it's based on something that's extremely popular in Asia. I don't know if it's still today, but people could watch TV on their computers thanks to that dongle. Now, somebody that was clever and knows a lot about programming and knows about electronics looked at that and said, okay, well, the software that comes with it is designed to hear only or receive only that range of frequencies. But in reality, that thing is a radio. So there must be a way to tap into getting more signals. So the first version, the cheapest kind of RTL SDR you can get, gets VHF UHF. Why? Because that's where the TV signals were. And with a special driver and software, you can tap on more than just what it was supposed to do. And you get, 2-meter handband, whatever, with the special driver. So that's the basic. Now, when you get to the New Elect, when you get to the RTL is the RV3, stuff like that, what happened is that they added a layer of circuit to it. Since that dongle cannot receive shortwave, they have decided, oh, well, there must be a way to receive shortwave. Oh yeah, by adding another circuit that is designed for shortwave on it. But the thing is, it still doesn't receive shortwave. For that to happen, you have to use that circuit that receives shortwave and upconvert it. What does that mean? For example, say you're listening to a standard RTL SDR dongle, okay? What happens is that you might be listening to 2 meter band, okay? It can't receive shortwave, but it can receive VHF. What does an upconverter do? It takes that shortwave circuit board, and there is in it a circuit that will take that frequency and send it higher to be in the range of the RTL SDR. So that means if you want to listen to Radio Havana Cuba 6000 kilohertz, the RTL SDR or the new elect by itself, finally they're coming to get me, that new elect is not capable. But that shortwave circuit that they added takes that signal at 6 megahertz, which is Radio Havana Cuba, and for example, would send it to, and that's why often you have to put an offset in the software. Say the offset is 50 megahertz. That means the 6 megahertz signal of Radio Havana Cuba is now going to be upconverted to 56 megahertz. Why? Because I told you that the RTL SDR does not receive below 30 megahertz, for example. But it can receive a signal in the 50 megahertz range because it's a VHF receiver. So by upconverting or transferring that signal from 6 to 56 megahertz, now your RTL SDR, your new elect, whatever, suddenly gets shortwave frequencies because they have been sent higher in frequency so that your receiver can actually listen to it. It has a drawback when you do that. And that's where you need to choose properly where the signals are going to fall in the receiver. You have to think of your upconverter to send it in an empty space of VHF as much as possible. Why? Because when you send that 6 megahertz signal to 56 megahertz, your SDR is still receiving 56 megahertz. That means if there would be some other signal on the VHF scale that is also operating at 56 megahertz, you will clash. That signal and that 56 megahertz signal will clash and make it impossible to listen to. So that's why on some with very high conversions, some are like 100 megahertz, you might notice that, well, I listen to shortwave, but I hear the airband. I don't get it. Yeah, it's because the upconversion is at 100 megahertz. And if you're listening to 15 meter band, well, 21 megahertz plus 100 is 121 megahertz. That's the VHF airband. So your receiver is not only getting that signal from 15 meter band, but it's in the middle of the airband, so it can receive a signal from airplanes, for example, because it's still listening to that frequency. Sorry. So the upconversion is just taking a frequency that your radio cannot hear, like the new elect that you have with upconverter, and pushing that signal higher in frequency to become listenable in the range of your SDR. So I hope the explanation is clear enough to understand. Archer's Alleycrafter's Kitchen says the noise alone on long wave has scared me to the point of never really trying it. Yeah, and sometimes, you know what? We have to resist that side of us that says, well, too much noise, I'm never going to try it. Because sometimes we are rewarded of still getting something, even though it's scaring us and we think that nothing's there, you know? Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. Well, you know, Robert Prosper, we already are receiving that. When you are, like for example, if I'm here in Montreal, I listen to, say, the 49 meter band, I hear static crashes, and there's like, here it's beautiful and there's no thunderstorms around. You are definitely hearing static crashes from thunderstorms that are honestly hundreds, if not thousands of kilometers away. In the wintertime, when it's really cold in North America and you hear static crashes, think about it. Some of those are thunderstorms in the Caribbean, and that's thousands of miles away for a lot of people. And yet we're hearing them. So it's kind of a form of DX of noise, VA2 XMX as the exact phrasing, like I was saying. Anything is worth your time if you enjoy it. Voila. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Richard, CHU Canada was the first thing I received on shortwave. Canadian radio TV guy, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta, Canada. So, Robert Prosper, I hear people discuss utility stations. What can one hear and understand from a utility station? Utility station has different types of stations, from anything that is maritime weather broadcast, like the Chesapeake, Virginia broadcast we hear that, gives the weather for the high seas, to digital stuff, including weather charts decoded with, the software to see the weather maps. From aeronautical, hearing the planes over the Atlantic Ocean, for example, which is a lot of fun. I mean, you can actually pinpoint them and on the internet and so on. And there's a lot of stuff out there on the utility bands of things you can listen to. And it's kind of cool because you're in the middle of the action of what's happening. There are, Mars nets, which are military auxiliary radio system. Mars nets are kind of an army side to amateur radio, if you want. And there's a lot of stuff, and there's a lot of things you can actually understand out of utility stations. It's not just cryptic, weird signals. There's definitely official signals and emergency broadcasts and all sorts of things that you can actually understand if you take the time. Randy, Riverside, California, nice to have you here. Stormovic 5 have Texan PL680 and never have been able to pick up a long wave signal here in southern Tennessee. Try to do it a little far away from your home. Go outside, go to a park. You'll be very surprised what you can hear. A lot of non-directional beacons in North America, but there's other stuff. Go where it's actually quieter, and remember that it's the internal ferrite that is also giving getting the signal, so it's very directional. Turn the radio when you're tuned and check it out slowly. You'll hear stuff. John Beckham, radio waves make the world smaller. Absolutely. V2XMX Montreal Forum and the song, yeah, na 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 na. Hey. Man. Richard, always travel to Montreal to see Expos play New York and Atlanta. Good old days. Keegan remembers listening to the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and the Late Show with David Letterman on the KOTV6 Tulsa, Oklahoma audio on 87.7. Leo Main, nice to have you on board from West Florida. Joe as World of Radio 93.95 kilohertz, which is about to end at this time. VT Radio, I have not heard the Desert Whooper on 4095.6 yet. No, I've tried it a few times here too, and not making it. Not making it. But on the West Coast, it's pretty strong on most of the SDRs. It's just 4095.6. Let's go to CW mode. For 095.6. Anything here? Nope. Nothing here. Nothing here. WF7I Homebrew. Nice to have you on board from rural Virginia. Pretty cool to have you here. What else do we have here? Let me just try to reach where I was. Okay. So, WF7I Homebrew, nice to have you here. RJDA Dakota, back in the 70s. Used to listen to WPSD Channel 6 late night programming. What else do we have? Fast load, nice to have you here. System on a chip, yep. So unfortunately, one of the problems is they're using that today to lower cost. And, I can't see a lot of standard analog radios being built in the future. Because, you got to design that circuit and you got to put all the components together. It's more expensive. So, what's going to happen is any company that wants to make a radio in the future is going to just look at that and say, oh, look at that. There's a chip that does it. You just need to put a few extra parts around it to have it working. So, what it brings? It brings some radios that are pretty good, but it also brings radios that can be really crappy because it's not designed well, for sure. Eric Cottrell, nice to have you on board. Yep, Jolly Roger's up. Yeah, cool here too. 11.7 Celsius right now. Nice to have you on board, and hope you're having a happy birthday today, Eric. Let's wish Eric a happy birthday. Come on. Harry, nice to have you on board. Says just buy PL660, best value for money. There's, the 660 and 680 have one problem, and I've seen it more and more as time goes by with people buying it. Unfortunately, it seems to have a slight, both the PL660 and 680 seem to have a slight quality control problem sometimes, unfortunately. Radio Yankee, nice to have you on board. K2YK in Western New York. Pretty cool. Angpar, what's this? We talk about radio. You know about radio, right? Mazeman, nice to have you here from New Hampshire. Rick, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. What else do we have? Mike Jam, anybody who asks a question and stumps you should get a t-shirt. Oh, there are some questions that are going to stump me. I'm not a radio god. I'm not a radio god. Fastload says nobody stumps Shell. There must be that question out there. I'm going to be like, no idea. Where are you located, Hangpar? Ishan, nice to have you on board from Staten Island, New York, AC2MX. Chaz Tank, nice to have you on board, and hope everybody's well. Absolutely, from Louisville, Kentucky. What else do we have? Yeah, drivers. Well, it's mainly the drivers that actually change what that software is capable of doing. Because, the software itself, like the SDR dongle, the RTL SDR dongle, the way it was designed is that the standard driver that it has plus the software that they use brings TV in Asia. But that driver actually modifies the way that you can tap into that receiver. And the software helps you tap into it. So shortwave is international broadcasting, Ingpar. It's not like police scanner, which is much more local. Mitch, nice to have you here from Buckeye, Arizona. So yeah, you listen to other countries, absolutely. WF7I Homebrew music on 4870 again tonight. Maybe Mystery Radio. Yeah, it probably is. Let's try it here. 4870. Anything here? I don't hear much. Not even a carrier. What do we have here? Let's check it out. WBCQ on 4790 now. That's like 24 hours a day. Brother Stare, 24 hours a day on the 60-meter band. How about that for being in hell? KB9 MTD, nice to have you on board. And yeah, but some of them, even on the Q branch, will not have like the most basic receivers. And even if you use the Q branch, a lot of them are crappy at receiving at the bottom end of their frequency range. And upconverting is way better because you'll have a dedicated shortwave setup to send it up to what the radio is capable of tuning. So, you know. Now, these dongles that we talk about, Angpar, are really receivers, are really radios, and they don't use the internet. You have an antenna on them, and your computer is only the control buttons, if you want. You know, an SDR, every time somebody asks me, what's an SDR? I don't understand about SDRs, what they are. Their SDR is the radio. The computer is the buttons that you're missing. That's all. It's just the buttons. So think about the computer being the control and the dongle being the radio, or the SDR being the radio plugged to an antenna. But it's the computer that controls, that will choose. And of course, because you have some computing power, you also had a lot of capabilities, including all sorts of, you can use the computer for processing the signal in all sorts of ways to make it easier to listen to. What else do we have? What else do we have? Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you on board. Well, internet radio is internet radio, and let's not mix both. And when I hear somebody talk about, well, I listen to stations on the internet, that's a different category. I don't have it as cheating because it's not radio for me. It's a stream, and a stream isn't radio. So anything that is internet radio is like watching this. It's some stream on the internet. Has nothing to do with radio in reality. It's a computerized way using the internet to get some audio from someplace somewhere else. Like this is a internet way of having a video, and audio stream to all of you around the world. It has nothing to do with radio itself. In terms of comparing shortwave or radio in general with what's happening here or streaming content. So it's a different thing, and it's not cheating because it's two different things. And I totally understand somebody that would just I know some people that are fascinated with streaming all sorts of stations and podcasts around the world. It's a hobby. It's something that exists, and it is. And it's cool, and it's fine that it exists. And it's a different way of doing things. But it's not radio, and it's different. It's a different thing. It has to do with the internet, and what belongs to the internet stays on the internet. Mike, new to this stuff. Texan PL330 is scheduled to arrive on Saturday. Well, for the price, you're going to have one of the top portable radios out there. I can tell you that. So everybody wishing happy birthday, Eric. So John Beckham, AM, medium wave broadcast travel much farther at night. Why? Because of the shifting propagation conditions of the ionosphere. And the daytime, the ionosphere creates several layers, D, E, F, F1, F2 layers. And that actually makes some frequencies propagate on shortwave on the higher frequencies. Then you get into nighttime. The nighttime, the ionosphere completely recreates itself in a different way. And one of the layers that is the D layer is actually disappears at night. The D layer actually absorbs most of the medium wave signals. So when an AM 50 kilowatt AM station broadcasts in the daytime, in the ionosphere, the D layer absorbs that frequency. It can't propagate except for ground wave, 100-200 miles at most. But then the sun sets, the ionosphere reorganizes itself and forms one big layer, pretty much. The D layer is gone. That layer absorbs. And what happens is that the medium wave signals are now capable of actually propagating like a shortwave signal on the lowest part of the ionosphere. So it starts propagating, thousands of miles away. And then the sun rises in the morning, the layers reconstruct themselves, including that D layer that absorbs the signals. And medium wave dies for long distance for the rest of the day as long as the sun's up. It's really a question of reorganization of the ionosphere as the sun sets and as the sun rises every day. And the frequencies, the medium wave frequencies propagate at night because of that, but will be absorbed during the day. So they can't actually go very far except for ground wave. Brad Skilling, nice to have you here from the suburbs of Chicago. Andrew Jackson, getting started and studying my hand license. Cool. Pretty cool. What else do we have? Is there a better radio than the Greenwich Satellite 800 radio for shortwave listening? It's a decent radio. It's really a decent radio, honestly. Bob Lewin, nice to have you here from New Jersey. John Beckham, nice to have you here. Well, I already said that. It's good to see the CO on D808 getting some love now. D808, yep. It's a decent radio for the price. I mean, wow. I would have been. Imagine, I paid $100 for a DX100, which is probably one of the crappiest radios that existed back in 1982, because I didn't know better. And that what is probably like $200 to $300 today when you took inflation. And today, for less than 100, you got something that is a little portable radio that is 1,000,000 times better than that radio. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Dimitri, nice to have you here from Minnesota. Jisa, guys, when will Radio Shack come up with a high-end receiver? How about Sony? These brands have gone off shortwave because it wasn't interesting for them. They weren't making money off shortwave radios. I doubt they were really making a lot of money anyways ever with these receivers. Maybe in the 80s when they had a lot of the portables, but I can tell you that There's no money to be made anymore in shortwave radio, and that's why it's being consolidated into just a few manufacturers in China. Because Sony is not ever going to be able to make a radio that competes at a decent price with what Texan does today, unless they all build it all and decide to do it in China. The consumer electronics of all kinds, Sony is in deep trouble with its consumer electronics. What keeps Sony alive is the PlayStation. It's losing money on the TV side. It's losing money everywhere. The only place it's really making a lot of money is the PlayStation console. That is actually saving Sony's ass, because Sony would have disappeared. Panasonic, which for me is one of the best brands ever. They're leaving the major consumer market. There's no money to be made. We're all cheapskates. We don't want to pay for our stuff. Why do you think everything is made in China? Because we're all cheap. We don't want to pay. So what do? You do it where it doesn't cost a lot of money. Where does that happen? China. Hey, you got that guy, barely eating every day because he doesn't have enough money to bring you that Texan H501X in your hands for the rich guy in Canada that does a live show. I'm kind of laughing, but honestly, it's sad to see. It's sad to hear that that's it, because that's the way it is. That's the way it is, honestly. We're in another period now, and these companies like Sony and so on will never bring back shortwave radios. Not in the state of shortwave today. We're not in 1975 when we relied on shortwave in the Cold War for listening to Radio Moscow. When's going to be the next big, missile launch to nuke us all? That was the scare, but also that was the important stuff of the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, the Cold War. Countries needed to express themselves and have a voice over something that exists that was shortwave. Today, it's a different world. And you know what? I don't really care that Sony doesn't make any more radios. I don't really care that Panasonic doesn't make any more radios, because we still have great radios like Texan H501X. It is totally high-end radio. People are China bashing a lot. China isn't perfect. Got an example here with how China can be a crappy country in treating human rights and treating people. With what happened, here with the Huawei finance director sent back there, and then suddenly, hey, miracle! Canadians are freed from prison for no reason, that they were arrested anyways. China is the crappiest country in the world in human rights and all sorts of things. And that we never have to forget. But that said, Texan makes amazing radios. They replaced what we lost with other companies. And I will tell you honestly, I do not care that the Texan H501 comes from China at all. What I want in my hands is a radio that works, that is decent and decently constructed, and that does a good job at what I want. And you know what? It comes from China. So be it. And that will not change, and not change in the near future. You will not have radios made in the US or in Europe or in Canada. That will never happen. And, we got to stop. We got to stop at some point. And anyways, even if you don't like China, I'm just going to tell you one thing, man. 80% of everything you buy was made there. So you're not going to escape it at all. What else do we have? Brad was fooling with the SDR dongle this afternoon, found a nearby lumberyard frequency. Well, that's, it's fun. It's the fun thing. It's like we always say scanner radio is dead, and it's dead because some people focus on very specific things when they listen. And a guy that I went to high school with I'm sure he doesn't use a scanner radio anymore. Why? Because the Montreal police is now encrypted and digital. You don't hear it anymore. That was his fun. So for him, scanner radio is dead. But you know what? What is in the VHF UHF range, and there was actually an article in Spectrum Monitor not that long ago about that, and they were mentioning that 70% of everything on the VHF UHF range is still analog. It's because people focus on the major agencies. So, of course, the police might be encrypted in your area. There could be some all sorts of emergency type communications encrypted. But go down to the basics of what other things are out there, and that's where people miss out. They don't understand that there's kind of a lot of other stuff than just local police. And go to a rail yard and scan the railroad frequencies. Go to a industrial area of your city, and you'll be amazed at the number of transmissions you'll hear in the VHF UHF range that are very localized. They're in that vicinity. So, for example, when I go to the east end, where I go near the Montreal port, Parc Belle-Rive, it is near the refineries, Shell and so on. Everybody's there, Petro-Canada and so on. You wouldn't believe the amount of transmissions you get on the VHF UHF range on a scanner radio. I don't hear them here because they're walkie-talkies within the confinements of their their companies, of their refineries. So it's low power. Once you move far enough away, you don't hear anything anymore. But you get near the refineries and you suddenly hear dozens and dozens of frequencies light up with all sorts of transmissions. The hobby is what you make of it. Shortwave is what you make of it. When I hear somebody say, well, shortwave's dead, well, you know what? You should do something else because you already decided that there's nothing interesting. I have not abandoned shortwave or the hobby. Why? Because I got plenty of things to listen to. And plenty of things, it is different. I don't have Radio Moscow. Yeah, of course. But I still have quite a lot of stuff that interests me that's there. Why? Because I'm open-minded and try everything and listen to whatever's out there. And that's what keeps the hobby alive. Be open-minded. If your focus is on, all I want to hear is the BBC, well, you can hear the BBC, but better brush up on going out where there's not a lot of noise to hear the signal that's not broadcast to North America. At least you guys in Europe have the possibility to hear it much better than us. Most of the time, you're narrowing that experience so much that it's like, yeah, maybe that's why you find everything boring on shortwave. I'm sorry, but there's a lot of stuff to listen to. I am one of those that is having a lot of fun tuning the bands every time I do it. And, there's amateur radio, there's utility signals of all sorts, the international broadcast bands, all sorts of weirdness that you have no idea what comes out. There's number stations. There's, what was I about to say? I just lost my train of thought here, but there's stuff out there. Tune that darn radio and stop complaining. Tired of that. Kevin, half of the people watching have not hit the thumbs up button. That's a travesty. So I'm banning everybody that hasn't done thumbs up today. That's a joke. And nice to have you on board, Kevin. Yeah, brother Scare. It is scary because I can tell you one thing is that when I was doing my ATS scan, WBCQ that comes on 4790 and 6160, 7490, blah, 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 blah. Man, this is crazy. John says, as part of obtaining a certificate from your Shortwave Radio Club, as we discussed somewhat in the last podcast, how about a section on the function of transistors, capacitors, and resistors? Yeah. Electronics basics, basically. Electronics is what runs our radios. We got to know about that. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, he's dead. He's dead. Thank God he's dead. If there is a heaven, he's not there. I can tell you that. Robert Prosper, main issue with internet radios that you really need to know what you want to hear in order to hear it. No opportunity for serendipity or randomly picking. Well, wait, Robert Prosper. Yes, there is. That's why there's things called internet radios. I had one from St. Jean that was based on the dead the dead aggregator which means it doesn't work anymore. But those radios are actually made for you to randomly pick up whatever. They totally are made for that. So yes, there is a possibility to, like a radio in general, tune randomly to streams out there, because you can choose countries and see everything that's there and just click on something and say, what's that? And what's that? And I did that a lot on that radio at the beginning. I thought it would be fun, honestly. That's the funniest part of it, is when I purchased my St. Jean WFR20, I thought it would be fun. That's why I bought it. And I used it quite a lot for a couple of weeks, but honestly didn't use it again. The only times I'd use it was to stream music, because it has such a good audio quality. So you stream your favorite music stations. I almost didn't use it. It kind of wears off. It's not like radio, But there's a lot out there. There's a lot of podcasts and a lot of weirdness, even on the internet. There's so much weird stuff out there. JD Dakota, very true, RNC Pacific, and some other shortwave stations like Africa #1 do send on the internet. But there's a lot of stations that do not send on the internet, or didn't go on the internet when they left, actually. How bad is the muting in a PL330? Well, it mutes like pretty much all the DSP receivers. So you got a little muting when you tune around. So here we have my Gin de Mononcle, #2, Bière d'Épinette, which comes from a Sugar Shack, a Pied de Cochon. Not bad. Not bad at all. It's like drinking soda. So you gotta be careful, because it's like drinking soda, but it has 7% alcohol. So you don't want to be sick on that kind of thing. I can tell you that. So let's put it here. I should make ads with these things. So cheers, everybody. So 4885 is definitely Brazil. It's Radio Club do Para. It's the one we hear all the time here, WF7 Ombra. Radio Club do Para. This is the station we hear pretty much all the time here. What else do we have? Farsh's on the Croucher's Kitchen, Satellite 100, good radio. People do drool over it, but I think it's better listener than a DX machine. Yeah. Robert Prosper. How does Texan manage to make money? Well, because they're manufacturing in China, so the price point is decent, and they're able to sell them with a minimum of and there's not that a lot of radio companies around anymore, so they pretty much have an open market. They're one of the decent companies that still make decent radios in quality. So yeah, Panasonic for me was always a top brand also. Salut TVDXer, j'espère que ça va bien. But yep, Panasonic was for me a high-end company for electronics. Absolutely. Vintage Kenzo, what's a good older 890s Sony shortwave radio one should look for purchase? Most of the Sony receivers were pretty good. So whatever you choose from the 90s, decently, you'll have a decent radio. Christian Marcoux, nice to have you on board from North Bay, Ontario. Solarflex 102, not bad. Listen to the higher frequencies. That's the biggest problem with Texan, John Beckham. I got to say, the fact that they don't include RDS is kind of a little, it's like their designs. Somebody said, well, why do these designs look old? Yeah, absolutely. The H501X looks like an old Grundig. And they have not kind of updated or modernized their look and feel. But then again, maybe that's why they're able to pull it off at a decent price. RDS, they all have the DSP chip. That chip is capable of RDS. It'd be nice to have RDS on a Texan receiver. Absolutely. They don't put it. I don't know why. They're stubborn. I don't know why. It's almost as if they're just saying, well, for our price point, let's just keep the same LCD all the time that does the same thing and not focus on anything else. So whatever size LCD, it's like the same LCD but resized, and that's it. RDS would be nice. RDS is actually a very nice feature on FM. Especially if you're listening to stations, you got the song, the song names and the band names and so on. You got all the information of what is being played, weather. RDS here in Montreal, at least, RDS is used quite extensively and very nicely by most FM broadcasters. So yeah, I say it I said it many times. If the Texan PL990X and the Texan H501X would have added two features, RDS on FM and the capability of recording on that SD card, they would have been the top best radios ever to have right now. The TIFDO T115, V115 that records on the SD card at like what it costs, $18, and a Texan H501X does not at $200 and some dollars. Like I was saying, and I was thinking, is there a royalty to pay to record MP3 or something? Is it that made them think, well, no, I'm not gonna, well, like every country, Robert Prosper, we all had cheap labor. Cheap labor existed in the US and Canada, still does in some way. But you know what? That's why manufacturing shifts. When we were in the 70s and 80s, we had stuff made in Taiwan and in Korea. Why? Because that's where it was cheap. That's where things were produced. We moved to China because China was cheaper. And, with the pressure, someday maybe China will be too expensive. What's going to happen? It'll be made somewhere else. It'll be made in India. It'll be made in other countries where labor will be cheaper. And so that's a shifting, it's the way the economy works around the world. It's going to be shifting from country to country, from area to area. And that's the way it is, Barry says, I have a Sony card receiver about 6 years ago and really doesn't reflect Sony's great track run as they did in the past. Well, in the last run and the last leg of doing stuff, sometimes companies take shortcuts which shouldn't have been, Keegan has a Panasonic VCR. I got one here. It's in the shelves over there. And it still works great. It's from 2000, so it's 21 years old. Still works great. Kevin Upton says, I would not give my F501X up after using it. Love it. Oh, it's amazing. It's an amazing radio. I love it too. I'm always using it. I'm in love with the radio. Chastang, I have 2 original Panasonic Toughbooks. They're still power up. Yeah, well, the Toughbooks were also unique in the way that they were designed, though. They were designed with in mind with being. That's why they're wearing the name Toughbooks. It's like the gaming laptop I got here by Asus. It's called the Tough Gaming Laptop, and underneath it actually has a seal that says that it's actually approved for use by the U.S. military. And that seal actually usually means that it's tougher than the average laptop, which means if you are a little rough with it and so on, and God knows I need to have that type of thing because I'm kind of rough with everything I own, it is designed to be tougher than the average laptop in the way that it was actually thought of. So the Toughbooks actually were also designed for that. Rogers Out of Crafter's Kitchen. Someone asked me recently if I thought Panasonic would start making shortwave radios again. No, they will not. They will not. They're leaving everything. They left. If they have not left, they are leaving the TV side of things. I think they sold their TV. I think they sold their TV side to Samsung. We're having TVs from Samsung and LG now. It's like, these big companies. And it's sad because Panasonic was known to make the best panel for our HGTVs. Panasonic was known to be the best out there. It was top of the line of everything for the quality of the TV panels. And look, like I said, we're all cheap. When you go to the store and you buy the TV, you got that one at $3,000, that one $2,000. That looks good, and it's as big or it's even bigger. I'll take the $2,000, and you end up with okay. You end up with a good TV, but there were some advantages on the other model too. So it's the way it works. It's the way it works. Yeah, Singapore. I remember when they did a lot of stuff too. Singapore. Yep. Man. Paul, Panasonic RF2600 portable. My first radio with digital blue LED readout. Still kicking myself for letting it go. Yeah. Got a couple of Panasonics that I never should have let go also. I'm so sad that I let that go. I can tell you. Dimitri, sad that America don't make great radios like RB and so on. Yeah, they would be too expensive. Labor is much more expensive here, and people wouldn't just not buy it. It's competition. We do other stuff. I'm not sad that we don't manufacture anymore. Honestly, it's an old way of thinking that, it's sad we don't manufacture stuff. Why is it? we transformed our economy into something else, and it's going great. Why? Why is it a bad problem? It's not. It's not. Let others do whatever they want to do, and as long as it's at least a minimum quality we want, it's it doesn't matter. We have other things. The economy, is hasn't dropped in North America because we don't build stuff anymore. It's gone somewhere else because that's where it goes, and we do other stuff. We have an economy which is a lot of services. It's a different thing, and people maybe are paid better and more thanks to the fact that maybe that's the way we need it. You know. Brad, you nailed it. Can't use my scanner for emergency services anymore, but loaded with GMRS, FRS frequencies. That's other stuff you can put in there. There are other things, but people focus a lot on a very specific aspect of a hobby, and when that is gone, for them, there's nothing interesting anymore. And that's the thing. You got to be careful with that. Bonne nuit, TVDXer. Fais attention à toi. À samedi. Yeah, RDS is helpful for FMDXing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hank Parks from Southern California. Good night from Costa Rica, my friend. You don't need to have massive antennas. Often, even the portables today are capable with just a telescopic of receiving so much. How much for an SDR setup? It depends what you want to have as an SDR. It can be very cheap, but it isn't that very expensive, honestly. What else do we have? Skip, nice to have you here. And to EI, find a Sony ICF 2010. If you can get somebody to part with one. Yeah. Some of the best Sony radios out there. Amazing little Sony radio, can tell you that. Canadian Radio TV guy, what broadcast on 14430? You have China Radio. It's the CNR1 jammer from China. As simple as that. Every time you see Sound of Hope relay of Taiwan, that thing is like 100 watts. That's not what you hear. You hear the CNR1 jammer because China jams every single frequency from Sound of Hope. They want to make sure it doesn't make it into mainland China. So what you hear on 14430 is CNR1 jammer. Sunwave, nice to have you on board from Oklahoma City. What else do we have? No, I don't think that the RJ88 Dakota, I don't think they want you to buy that recorder as a package. Honestly, I think there's something else about that H501X not recording for some reason. Soroflex 102. That's nice. That's nice. Higher frequency. You're going to propagate. It's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. Hey, Blind Picker. Nice to have you here from Connecticut, Rob. Dave. Nice to have you here. 741. Nice to have you here. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that's still made, but there's a lot of government military stuff made in China. I can tell you that. But some IN stuff. There are some IN stuff that's still made in the US or whatever. Butterbean. If you can't pick up anything, get a bigger antenna. For those of us way out in the countryside, you have to. Ham radio gear does work in general well for shortwave listening, but you got to be careful because there's a lot of ham radio gear that do not necessarily have the proper wideband filters for listening. It depends what you're going to pick up, but a lot of ham radio gear is actually good for shortwave listening also. What else do we have? Navit Farnhammer, number of stations decreasing? Not necessarily. There's pretty much as much. It hasn't changed in the last few years. There's still the same number of stations, the same amount from Poland, from Russia, from Asia, different places in Asia. There are some that are not listed that are like one-time frequencies also. There's still quite a lot of number stations that are on the bands. I can tell you that. Shortwave is much lower in frequency than FM. FM actually, we got to be careful because we know when we talk about bands, FM is a mode of transmission. We unfortunately have the habit of saying, "Oh, I'm listening to FM," which is 88 to 108 megahertz. But in reality, FM is a mode of transmission. Shortwave is lower in frequency, and there are some FM stuff in shortwave because it's a mode of transmission. Not a lot of it, but there are. Shortwave is really from 3 to 30 megahertz. It's much lower in frequency than the FM band you might be listening to, as you say. So, what else do we have? Okay, what else do we have? Dan, nice to have you here from Ohio and 8WJZ. So, I'm at the bottom of the chat right now. So, radio is a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff on radio that's cool, and it's all dependent on what you're willing to listen to, what equipment you use, and how much you want to put up with what is happening. I gotta say, it's a difficult thing to talk about shortwave sometimes to people that are new to the hobby, or people that might have listened but a long time ago, and today they turn on that radio and hear almost nothing. If you are here watching this stream, you're kind of a crazy nut job like I am about radio for the most part. You still are active, you still listen, you still find stuff to listen to, you search for signals, you have the drive to do so, even in today's radio world and noise environment. And we can't bring back all the people that listen to shortwave or radio from the past and say, well, no, radio is still great today. Because it all depends of what radio meant for you and what you were searching for in radio. Going back to what I was saying about that guy that I went to school with, that doesn't use a scanner radio because, his fun was listening to the Police. For him, there's no more fun in radio. And that exists. Think of somebody that, have had fun listening to all of these broadcasts from around the world in the 70s or 80s that comes today and finds that there's just a handful of that he can hear. And he's going to tell you, well, I wanted to listen to the world, and I'm obviously listening to not a lot of the world now. So it's kind of boring. There will be people that are not satisfied with today's shortwave. And you got to accept that, because unfortunately, that maybe is the case. They won't have the fun because there's not enough stuff to drive that fun that they had in the past. We are different. We are still here today, and we're still here today because we're crazy. And we, you know, there was somebody the other day that posted a comment on the channel. So when I showed you guys, there was a video. What was it? Monday. I was outside and I heard RWM time signal from Moscow, Russia, 9996. And I was showing how I zero in and how I often find that it's there because I'm listening to WWV and hear something within that frequency. First comment, or one of the first comments, was, well, that's kind of an expensive radio to listen to beep beeps of time. And, you know, it's like, yeah, because that's for you, that's the way it is. You can't argue with a person like that. You can't say anything to a person like that. Because, like the person that's going to come up to you and say, well, Shortwave's dead today. Nothing on, nothing there. You know, you can't argue. Because even if you come up with, well, today I listened to the Voice of America, to the BBC, to Radio Prague, to Voice of Turkey, and Radio Romania. And I did some utility listening and heard different little things like marine broadcast signals and so on, decoded the weather chart. They're going to just yawn in your face because they are minded. They're already decided that, no, this is boring today. There's nothing. There will always be that type of person. And we got to, that's the type of person you don't want in our hobby, first of all. You know, it's like all the hams that rant of FD8's killing the hobby. Why don't you go do something else, you old geezer? I mean, come on. You're just ranting. Yeah, and what did you do today to enhance our hobby? You know, maybe that's the other thing you should say. Oh, well, you know, FD8's killing the hobby. Oh, yeah, what did you do today to make sure the hobby continues? Rant about it or do something to have fun about it? Decide. You want to rant or have fun? If you want to rant, get out. We don't need somebody like that. Okay? You're just boring and boring everybody else anyways. It's like, you know, you want to participate, make the hobby cool, or you want to rant? Decide. What's your choice? And there's too many hams that are ranting. Too many shortwave listeners are ranting. You know what? We don't need them. Get out. Get out. I don't care. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see your face. I don't even know why you're actually commenting. Oh, well, you know, Shortwave's dead today. Why the hell are you commenting? Why don't you do something else than bore somebody else? I mean, come on. It's just, you know, funny when I see something like that. It's like, yeah, you must be one of those boring idiots in the world. I do not accept a ranting at there's nothing to listen to, or a ranting of FT8's killing the ham hobby, or everybody does what he wants. You know what? Those FT8 guys, they're having fun. While you're ranting, they're having fun. Hey, I don't like FT8, but I'm not ranting about it. I'm just saying I don't like it. That's all. I'll do something else. When I get my license, I'll be on the bands. Probably not an FT8. That's all. But I'll be in the band and I'll try to do stuff and promote other modes and promote single sideband and not rant that people are on FT8 because it's darn boring ranting about something about radio. That's all. That's all. Have fun. Oh, man. What else do we have? So we have, Dan, Ohio, and Indiana. Nice to have you here, Dan. US Ham log Australia on DX watch on 28292. Oh, wow. Cool. 10-meter band. Joyous Tank, I enjoy the hunt to catch a signal, weak or strong, and tuning the dial to catch a signal. The excitement of intercepting a signal from distant lands. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of these online, Kevin. If you go to short-wave.info or eibispace.de, you have a list in UTC time of all the stations that are on. There's a lot of stuff that are on. Priyom.org for number stations, lots of stuff. There's a schedule there, but they miss a lot that are not on schedules also. RJD Dakota. Oh, you probably received the same guy. I heard him on Monday afternoon on 20 meters, the ham on in Valencia, Spain, which is, I'm trying to remember his call sign. So you probably heard the same one that I heard on Monday. Randall Klotz, have you ever seen a radio that you can plug the MLA30 into directly? Well, in SDR, a lot of SDRs, like the SDR Play I have here, because it has a bias T, the MLA30 needs to be powered. That's why the little box is there, the bias T. But if you have an SDR, a lot of SDRs, like the SDR Play devices, they have a bias T within the device. So you can actually plug it in without the box, and you just turn on the bias T power within the radio itself. For the rest, you need that box in a portable radio or a desktop receiver like the ICOM. You need to have that box because it needs to be powered with electricity because there's an amplifier in it. Hi, Comic 40s. Panasonic made good air conditioning units. Everything they made was good in general. John Beckham, I'm a loyal listener to Radio Spain, 17855 in the afternoons. I was listening to the English broadcast tonight while I was playing around with the ICOM here. It was coming in quite well, 17855 at 22 UT. Gary 24 fan. Social media has caused more ranting than doing. Yeah. Yep. It's like YouTube. There's so much crappy comments of like, I disliked this video because it didn't apply to me. Wow. How stupid can you be to do something like that? And thinking it has an effect. That's the funniest part. When I see the people thumbs down my videos, it's like, yeah, you think you're going to have a negative effect on me. You're just an idiot, ignorant idiot that doesn't know what exactly you're doing. It actually promotes you even more. If those stupid idiots knew that, well, when you thumbs down my video, it actually creates some kind of hype. There's some kind of controversy happening here. YouTube puts it on top instead of like putting it down. But they think they're, I'm going to thumb down that guy. He's going to not have any views. Yeah, that's the way it works. How stupid can you be? Why don't you get a life? Oh, God. Vintage Kenzo picked up 9996 here in Western Canada. Had no idea what frequency existed. Thanks for letting me know. Yep, 4996, 9996, and 14996. The three frequencies of RWM time signal. And the QSL, by the way, if you want to have a QSL. So you can actually have it's pretty much one of the only things you can actually have a QSL from Russia still. If you write them. God. BT Radio, how is your ham radio class going? So, yeah, I'm following it. Last Sunday was horrible because he had tons of problems on Zoom with his presentation. After an hour, I got tired. It was like, yeah, the hell with it. I'm going to be there tomorrow night for the other class. I'm continuing to study my guide and and a couple of times a week I go on the question pool on the Industry Canada website, and I actually go with the random questions and answer and do a full 100 question exam. So it's coming up. I'll have that license soon. SoCal, nice to have you here from California. What else do we have? Kimberly, K6YYL, nice to have you on board. Hope you're doing well. John Beckham, another great shortwave show tonight. Thank you very much. Kevin, IDX at night, and most I hear are Jesus. All good, but I want to hear new stuff. Yeah, I understand. The West Coast is a little more rough, and the East Coast, we have a lot of Europeans are easy to copy that are much more difficult in the West Coast. But listen in and don't leave the hobby. There's a lot more than just the Jesus stations. JD Dakota, yeah, AE5 EA5JZ is exactly the station I heard from Valencia on Monday afternoon using just a telescopic on my H501X in the backyard here. It was coming in so strong. Pretty amazing. Pika Killer. Nice to have you on board from the Netherlands, Mark. PD5ME. So, what else do we have? Karen, trying to figure out how our son was able to turn on our town's tornado sirens. He was using my father's old radios, a Unicom and a Baofeng. Can you read a Prairie Shortwave? Haters gonna hate. You just move on for all of us. Yep. Absolutely. YouTube is the worst place in the world for that. Worst place in the world for that. I can tell you that. So let me just try to focus back on what I was doing. I accidentally zoomed in on the text chat room. It's big, like it's so huge that I could probably read it from about a kilometer distance right now. So let me just adjust this a little. Like that. There we go. What else do we have? What I do, Barry, sometimes is like, oh, by the way, I'm going to leave your comment on the channel to show everybody what an idiot on YouTube that comments looks like. Paul, I think CB was like an early social media. People could anonymously rant, be rude. Although remember, most people were cool. Yeah, well, everything that, is social in some way. There's always bad people in there, right? Oh, man. What else do we have? JD Dakota, that was tremendous in the PL330. Pretty cool. Yeah, and it shouldn't, Keegan. Thumbs down are part of YouTube, and there's always going to be somebody somewhere is going to thumbs down because he just wanted thumbs down because he's, alone in his basement and has no life. So his only way that he thinks he's got some kind of power on the internet is to thumbs down. For him, that's huge power when it's like, yeah, your life is probably a big thumbs down, man. What else do we have? Sunwave turned that off on mine. Yeah, well, the problem is you gotta leave the comments. You gotta leave the comments if you want to have a popular channel, because it's part of the reason why everything is happening. People interacting and so on. And you know what? It also means you'll have to see the crap that you have every day. At the level I am, the crap every day there's a lot of it. you get used to it at some point, and you're just like, who cares? And you just remove what crap is there. You block whatever you want to block to make sure they can't post again. And you got to live with it. It's the way it is. And every YouTube channel, and especially when they get more popular, the amount of negativity and ranting and thumbs down just is in there. So it's the way it is. NJDX, are you anticipating pirate broadcasting on Halloween next month? So yeah, we're gonna, Halloween is on a Sunday, and we have a Saturday show, which will be on Saturday night, the 30th. So I do not, because I have my ham radio course on that day, the 31st. I don't really think I'll be doing a live show on Halloween day, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Halloween broadcasts on the 30th, Saturday night. So what's going to happen is probably I'm going to be doing my Halloween show on Saturday, the 30th of October. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Halloween broadcasters that we're going to be able to listen to. So I think it's going to be kind of cool. John, how about a secret interval sound at the closing of each podcast? Oh, that's interesting. Barry, some people do that for the shock value if it's a badge of trophy of being a troll online. Yeah, and you know what? A lot of people, it's part of the internet. The internet is you're invisible somewhere, It's like you will tell me something through a comment that you would never say in my face because you'd be scared of me, punching you back or something. But now they feel like they have big powers because they're in front of their screens where they're too sissy to understand that, they don't do it. They just do it inside of, behind their screen. Nobody knows where they are. They're just like, too idiot and too weak. K6YYL, been listening to my local police department. Take lots of crazy stuff today and close by our house. With crazy sirens and arrests. Thankfully, it has nothing that happens a lot. Sokov, can you please call my employer and ask them not to schedule conference calls on Wednesday evening so that I don't miss your show? Yep, just give me the number. I'm going to call and I'm going to let them know that there's something way more interesting than actually doing a conference call. I can even sign papers if you want. It's like, yeah, I wasn't able to go to work tonight because there was a really important, podcast. No, I'll sign a paper. So it's like, you can be off work, like a doctor's note. Oh man. Matt, MDK2, Halloween pirates haven't been as numerous in recent years, at least in my experience. I hope that changes. Yeah. I was wondering because I remember last year there were some, but during the pandemic, the peak of the pandemic last year, I mean, I've never heard in a year so many pirates in almost every day of the week. Ever in my life had I seen so much activity on the pirate activity. And I mean, probably because a lot of them were out of work temporarily and had time to do it. And I wonder if that didn't wear out some of those pirates. When they came to Halloween, it was like, oh, come on, I did so much pirating this year that I don't feel like doing it tonight, So we'll see. Anyways, we'll see what's going to happen in Halloween this year. And let's hope that activity is going to ramp up or something, The keyboard warriors. I like that. Keyboard warriors. Keyboard warriors. Oh yeah, Keegan. Comments can get extremely nasty, even on YouTube. Even on YouTube. Some people actually know how to, like, forge the perfect comment that's gonna just drive you nuts. Some people are great at doing that. But you know what? Never, if you're a YouTuber, podcaster, whatever you do, all I'm going to say is never let any comment from anyone turn you down or make you change your mind about doing something. Unfortunately, over the years, I've had quite a few people that were YouTubers that actually came to me and said, I stopped doing videos for a while. I have a hard time coping with the negativity and the bad comments and stuff. And the thing is anything online like that, don't take it personally. Do not. Remember, it's an anonymous idiot somewhere that probably does that everywhere on every channel and trolls everyone. And you cannot take that personally. Don't. Never take it personally. And even if his attack, he's attacking you in a personal way or whatever, just ignore. Who cares? Ignore. Just make it like it never happened. I know it's tough from time to time. It will happen from time to time that one particular comment is going to yeah, okay, but don't, you got to make yourself a shield. And I made myself a shield. And I think the hardest part of online presence is to go through the first year of it. Because when you start getting a minimum of popularity about something, you will also get a minimum of idiots trolling you. The more you go, the more trolling you'll get. And you'll get to a point where it's, I get dozens and dozens of trolling every day, all the time. It's part of doing it. But at first it's difficult, and I can understand you can easily abandon at the beginning. Because if you're a sensitive person, I'm a sensitive person. I'm tough in certain areas, but I'm a sensitive person inside. So it can easily get to me if you find the perfect way to do it. But you got to resist that. And you got to, like I said, make yourself a little shield. And it's like, unhappy trollers somewhere in the basement. They never got a life. And the only way now that they're trying to make up to be happy is that they're able to do what they've never been able to do because they're too sissy and they're too feeble to confront somebody in person and say, hey, you're an idiot, because they know they're going to get punched back, and they're too scared of that. But suddenly they found a screen where you don't know who they are, where they can be reached. And now they're powerful because they are hiding. How powerful is that? To be able to troll somebody because you're hiding. Yeah, that just tells us exactly what kind of person you are. So don't fall for that. And don't never go back, never stop. Too many people I've seen have stopped because of that. And it shouldn't happen, because when you stop because of a troll, you are letting them win. And I can tell you one thing, ain't no troll gonna win over me. Just saying. What else do we have? What else do we have? Joshua, nice to have you on board. W4GOG. Pretty cool to have you here, my friend. Snow Leopard, nice to have you on board from the Oregon coast. Bob Lewin, my Sony ICF 2002, still perfect. AM, FM, long wave, shortwave, SSB. I had it since 1980s. Cool. Joshua, I wish I could get here at 8 p.m., but I got 2 meter net I have to call. Aha. So Joshua, yeah, it's going well. Going well. We're continuing. Things are going well. 123 ABC. What other radio should I get to complement my PL990? Oh, wow. I don't know exactly what to say on that. Depends what you're looking for. Honestly, if my camera looks like a VHS picture, Joshua, you need to check your settings. Make sure that you're at 1080p on the stream, because I am at 1080p here on my end. KJV, only Anthony, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Hey, Niels, nice to have you here, my friend. And nice to, yeah, it must be quite early morning for you. Nice to have you on board, my friend. I hope you have a nice day at work today. And pretty cool to see you and say hello. Paul, hearing 409, it's 4095.6 in Montana, but on the west side, Montana, Alberta, all the Kiwi SDRs on the west side of North America seem to hear it quite well, but here on the east, I don't hear it. PL990X, great radio, love mine. 501X also, great radio. Pretty nice. So what time is it? We've been on for 2 hours and 18. How about a little bit of... you guys want to have a little bit of old time radio, going back and maybe being a little nostalgic. If you don't have, well, you know what? If you'd like something similar than the 990, try the PL330. Not too expensive, and you'll have fun with a very small, very portable receiver that is very capable. Get the Texan PL330. You're gonna have a lot of fun with that. 123 ABC. Okay, you know what, Joshua? I'll be very, very direct here. If you have a PL880, don't get the 990X. It's going to be a waste of money for you, because it isn't. It's very close, almost the same radio. You know, what it has more, it's not enough to. For me, it's not enough to tell you to go from the 880 to the 990X. 880 is already great. Okay, so keep your 880 and maybe think of something else. But you know, anybody that has a Texan PL 880, I would say no, don't go to 990. It's not worth it. Not enough difference. Honestly. Randall Kluntz, can you do interval for HCJB? HCJB. Let's check that out. Yes, I will, John. Say hello. Absolutely. Hey, Sheldon Harvey. Nice to have you on board from Greenfield Park, Quebec. So, hey, guys, we're going to do something here. I will take interval signal requests. So if you guys want to hear a specific interval signal, just let me know. I'm going to take a request for interval signals, and I'm going to play them. So here we go. I'm going to check it out here. So let's start with HCJB, which for some reason I never liked the modern. I don't know, the modern one from HCJB. I never really liked the modern one. I always thought that was there we go. It's kind of harsh. I don't know. Huh, okay. As we go here, let me take this. For some reason, let me just check it out here. So I'm going to enter it here. Interval signals. Well, I'm going to try it here. But it seems that the interval signal web page is, yeah, it actually is offline. It's not popping up. Can't reach intervalsignals.net. And here neither. So looks like the page is offline. Huh. Okay, first time it happens. So I might have a little more time for your interval signals, a little more difficulty getting the ones you want to hear, guys, but I'll try to find them in some other way. Miki Dalmich says intervalsignals.net been down for a few days. Okay. It seems to be down tonight too. So, okay. Take care, Niels. Well, H501X and Texan PL990X are great radios where you can tune with the tuning knob. They all have, most have a tuning knob. It's just that some have the chuffing, kind of a chuffing. Okay, so we're going to try to find interval signals in another way, guys. Take care, Tom D. Exter, because intervalsignals.net is down. Once ABC, what about going from the 660 to the 880 or 990? Well, that is a step up. That is definitely a step up. So let's find it in another way here. Here. So let's check out HCJB interval signal. And so HCJB radio Ecuador shortwave interval signal. So let's click here, oops, I'm just going to do a little change because that's not coming out of the proper audio. I need to choose, comes out of the console. Here it goes. And here is HCJB's interval signal. I never liked that interval signal.
Radio HCJB, die Stimme der Anden, aus Quito, der Hauptstadt Ecuadors.
So that was HCJB, Radio Australia, interval signal. Australia, here we go. So, Vintage DX, Radio Australia with ID and long interval signal. So, here we go. I'm going to check that out. And here we go. I'm going to ignore. And here we go, what it sounds like. So that's with the laughing bird there. You know, Joshua, if you want to have some Christmas gift, really, you can either, if you want to have a very, if you want to have something small, Texan PL330 is not a little Christmas gift that you could get yourself. If you want to have something bigger with stereo FM, because it has two speakers, Texan H501X could be interesting. Hilversum, Holland, late 60s. Was it different back then? Radio Netherlands.
This is Radio Australia, the overseas service of the Australian Broadcasting Commission. We're transmitting the North America and Central Pacific service on.
And that announcement of Radio Australia just made me a little nostalgic. So 1974, Radio Netherlands English program signing on with signature tune. So what's from Nigeria? Yeah, sorry about the volume. It was a little high on the first one.
The Dutch World Broadcasting System in Hilversum, Holland. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, everybody. We're broadcasting to Asia on 13.91, 13.97, 19.45, and 25 5.55 meters. That's on frequencies of 21570, 21480, 15415 and 11740 kilohertz, and to Europe on 49.63 meters, which is on a frequency of 6045 kilohertz. Now the news read by Nick Goldie. The main point in New York, a special session of the UN General
Session of the U.S. General Assembly went bad. Okay, Radio RSA.
Lorsque
Radio
vous changez votre
RSA.
perspective,
Whoa,
tout
what's
votre
that?
univers peut se transformer.
What is that?
Voir l'avenir.
So, Radio RSA, as I pour my last drink. Radio RSA. I gotta say, Radio RSA's interval signal is nice. There we go. What else can we get? So 1977. Radio RSA. Anything else? Radio RSA interval signal and ID multilingual. Huh. What is that? English, French, Dutch, Swahili, and German service. So it'll have multilingual. That's nice.
You are tuned to the English service of Radio RSA, the voice of South Africa in Johannesburg.
Joshua, I like the PL330. Is what I've been looking for, SSB, a small radio, and for backpacking. I like your idea and seeing your video. Yeah, the PL330, it's small, it's great, it has all the features. That could be a really, really good little portable for backpacking, absolutely. It's really, really one of those small radios that you can bring along everywhere. It's really, really nice for that.
It's 21 hours UTC, that's 23 hours South African time. And a very good evening to you from Radio RSA, the voice of South Africa in Johannesburg. And we are broadcasting to listeners in West Africa, the United Kingdom and the Irish Republic on 11900 kilohertz in the 25 meter band, 9585 kilohertz in the
Radio Canada International
band,
from the
and
60s.
7270 kilohertz in the 41 meter band. To begin our transmission, the news read by Kathleen Fitch.
You are tuned to the French service of Radio RSA,
French service.
the voice of South Africa in Johannesburg. Vous êtes à l'écoute du service français de Radio RSA, la voix de l'Afrique du Sud.
Vous êtes à l'écoute du service français de Radio RSA en direct de l'Afrique du Sud. Let me check that. So Radio Canada 81. Radio Canada. What was that? Radio Canada International Special Arctic Listeners Corner from 87. I'm going to try to find your interval signal from the 60s, but this one is very interesting.
You're tuned to the Christmas weekend Sound of Canada on Radio Canada International.
27th of December, 87.
Happy New Year, Lucy Lou.
Take care, Kevin.
And for the next hour or so, the Sound of Canada has a decidedly northern and Arctic orientation. since this is the Christmas weekend edition of the
It was
Listener's
a French
Corner
ad.
from Radio Canada International. A little Christmas music to serve as our opening theme this time. And I'd like to extend a very warm Christmassy welcome to you all our listeners, that is. I'm one half of the hosting duo here on the program, Ian McFarlane.
But you're the important half, Ian.
Oh, we are
Ian
equally
McFarlane.
important. Equally important. And the other half of the duo, who you just heard from a second ago there, is...
Françoise Borel. Hello, everyone, and we hope that you all had a marvelous Christmas. And I think some of our listeners may...
Hope you did.
Yes. Oh, yes. We
Complete
have
with sound effects, folks.
Yes,
We have
Christmas
a few
bells in
Christmas
the studio.
bells. Christmas bells.
I think some of our
That's
listeners may
interesting.
have wondered what language that We Wish You a Merry Christmas was sung in.
I was keeping that for a surprise.
Oh, all right. I won't tell then. I won't tell. All right.
Go ahead and let the surprise
That
out.
was in Inuktitut.
Yes, the language of Canada's native Inuit people.
That's right.
And
Okay, kind of interesting. So bad. That was back in 1987. And let me see if I can get a Radio Canada interval signal from Radio Canada International sign off at 1954. That's old.
We are transmitting over station CKLX, 19.88 meters, 15.09 megacycles per second, and station CHOL, 25.6 meters, 11.72 megacycles per second. We shall return to the air at 13:40 hours Greenwich Mean Time with our regular schedule of programs for the United Kingdom and Europe. Until then, good day from Montreal, Canada.
Wow, that sounded so weird. So let's see. Anything else from Radio Canada? On intervalsignals.net, they do have the 60s interval signal, but I don't find it here. I'm trying to find it on YouTube, and I don't find anything here. What else do we have? Let me check it out. So that's that. So before China Radio International, by the way, there's something called, and that is what I was introduced to, Radio Peking and then Radio Beijing back in the early 80s. Hank Bar, there's some frequencies of NASA when they actually have some launches for utility that do have some communications. Hey, Shelley, nice to have you here from Pennsylvania. Well, if you mean by affordable, there's the RTL, is the RV3.
This is Radio PK.
W8. Oops, I lost it. Okay, there we go. W8JB, AGEM from North Carolina.
This is Radio PK.
This is Radio PK.
Yeah, Canadian Radio TV guy, the intervalsignals.net, if it when it comes back online, they have the 60s, because I know what you're talking about. They have the 60s interval signal for Radio Canada International. So, unfortunately, it's unavailable tonight. On YouTube, it's not there. So, but it's nice to see. It's nice to see. Any other interval signals you guys want to hear? Yeah. Shortwave is pretty narrow band in general. What else do we have? What else do we have? The RTL SDR V3, and you have to buy it from the original website because there's too many copies of it on eBay or somewhere else. And you need to have a computer, and you need to have a some antenna of some sort. Doug Noble, Radio Japan. Yeah. Software for the RTL SDR V3 would be something like SDR console. That would work. HD SDR, that would work. But, Radio Iceland. Oh, man. That's a tough one. I remember they had Riki Sudvarpid or whatever in Iceland. Riki Sudvarpid shortwave. Is there anything about that? Shortwave. Probably is on YouTube. On the other website, we would have had it. Tell you what, guys. Here's what I'm going to do. I found something interesting. This one. It's called Glory Days of Shortwave Listening. How about we play a part of this one and check out what interval signals you guys think it is. It's tough to find a lot of the things on YouTube. It's kind of, that's what's the sad part, because intervalsignals.net is just amazing for that. It has almost everything, even from the old days. So let's check this out. So what's this one? So what's this one? Everybody have an idea? We still hear it today, by the way. We still hear it today. RTA Dakota, Voice of Nigeria. I'm going to try to find that. Yeah, the software is free. Hangpar. No, the RTL SDR uses a SMA connector, which is a much smaller plug than the BNC. I have a QSL from Radio Riki Sudvarpid in Iceland. So that was AWR. This one. What station is that? What station is that? What do you guys think? What station is that here? Not this one, but this one. That one is a well-known station on the air, still on shortwave today. Oh, thanks, Canadian Radio TV guy. I'm going to check it out on here. Check it out. So, yeah, I know you're up to date. It's all right. Thank you very much for letting me know that Edge is up to date. Okay, let's check that out.